Hi, I'm Sheila McManus. I'm one of the board chairs at the University of Lethbridge Teaching Centre, and I'm here today with Mike Madore for another Ed Talk. Thanks for coming to talk to me today, Mike.
You're welcome. Glad to be here.
So you're faculty in you teach in the Faculty of Management.
Yep.
And I think, like some of the management faculty, you came into teaching through the private sector. Is that right?
Yes and no. I'll back up a little bit and then sort of explain the journey. I'm a bit of an entrepreneur at heart, and when I was 17, I started my first entrepreneurial venture in high school. So that was my first exposure to the private sector, really. So I was a DJ. I had my own stereo equipment. I had saved money up through another job that I had, and I purchased that because I saw an opportunity in the community. There was no one doing that type of thing. So I ran that for about 4 years, at grade 11, grade 12, and then first 2 years of university. So that was my first exposure to private sector. While I was attending university, though, my undergrad degree is in education. So actually, I'm a high school teacher. That's where I first got my start in education.
I did not know that about you.
Yeah. I taught in Yellowknife. I was actually up there for 7 years. Then I met my wife up there, who's from Vernon, and we moved down to southern Alberta because the curriculum was the same. Mm-hmm. And I taught in Vauxhall for a year. And then opportunity came available to do some post-secondary work at the college. And I started to a pursuit of my MBA at that point as well too. And I took about 4.5 years to complete my graduate work, and I taught there at that time to complete that. And then once that was done, unfortunately nothing panned out in terms of a long-term commitment by the college, which is fine. There was no, at that point. So when that was done, the Bank of Montreal, where my wife works currently, offered me a position. I worked as a commercial lender there to we call it SMEs, small mid-sized enterprise.
Oh, okay.
So loans anywhere in the neighborhood to a couple $100,000 up to about 1.2, 1.4 is what I did when I was done. So I did that, and while I was there, I worked as a sessional here. And eventually a position opened here, and I applied, and I was fortunate enough to get it. So I always explain to my students my expertise comes from a couple different areas. Mm-hmm. I have education experience, but I do have some private sector too, and they were concurrent. They were happening at the same time. So it's sort of cool to be able to bring that into the classroom, and students really do appreciate that.
And you're one of the rare faculty members there for outside education who actually had some ed training before you stepped into post-secondary classroom. That had to have helped a lot, because most of us go in really just knowing nothing and make it up from there.
Yeah, I was fortunate. While I was in Yellowknife, actually, I taught helped at Aurora College as a sessional instructor. I just had my undergrad, but they were, it's difficult to get content expertise in Yellowknife in the Northwest Territories. So I applied on a couple of sessional jobs up there and was lucky enough to get them. So that's where I got my first exposure to secondary, and I love the experience. Don't get me wrong, I love teaching, I should say secondary. I love teaching in the high schools, but then post-secondary, having a chance to work with adults too was fantastic. I really enjoyed that. So that opened some doors and gave me the opportunity to teach at the college. And while I was there, I actually worked for Athabasca as well too as a sessional instructor. Wow. So this is my fourth place working as a post-secondary instructor.
Yeah.
So,
but you've been here for how many years now?
Started in 2003 as a sessional. Okay. I've been here 8 years full-time now.
Yeah. So tell me about the classes that you teach.
Various marketing classes, business-oriented, entrepreneurship, we call that small business management, service marketing, intro to marketing, retail marketing, sales, and e-commerce. Those are really the key ones. Not all the time. It depends on schedule and rotation, of course.
Yeah, and your sports marketing class too.
Oh yeah, my sports marketing.
Which is the one that I sat in on before.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So what do you think your strengths are then as a teacher, given this, kind of really interesting background you've got before you're even in a classroom here, one of these rooms in this building? What do you think your strengths are as a teacher here?
That's a good question. Partly my education background, my undergrad degree in education. I've been a teacher now for 25 years, believe it or not. I can't believe it. I go, where did all these years go? Oh my goodness. And the other part is through the private sector as well too. So I think, and I still do some entrepreneurial stuff as well too. I have some small businesses on the side that just, I have some online stuff that I do, selling golf merchandise. I have clients all over the world actually, you name it, in the UK, Scotland, Australia, New Zealand. I've sold product, golf merchandise all over the globe.
Yeah.
So bringing that in has really been beneficial as well too. So.
And the students must really appreciate that concrete experience. It must be one of the things that they particularly need from faculty in management?
I agree. And in my reviews that I receive from students, they mention that quite a bit, that they appreciate the ability to bring that. And that's part of my philosophy of teaching too as well. Is to take that theory and actually apply it to give the students the opportunity to use it while they're with me in a classroom. And I make sure that we have that, or they have that exposure through the semester. So.
Yeah. Do you think there's any other particular challenges teaching in this faculty? Do you think the students here are different from, or looking for, needing different things than students in other faculties at the university?
I would say, based on my limited experience of working with the other students, because really the only other students I get exposure to are Kines and Phys Ed, coming into the sports marketing class. Right. So it's hard for me to answer that because I don't know necessarily the needs of the other students. From my perspective, the students, though, that are here are well-rounded due to the faculty that we do have in place and the expertise through research and through applied, private sector as well, too. Because we have researchers who do have private sector experience, too. And I know that for sure based on the marketing department, and not just them, but the other areas, too, within our faculty of management, we do.
So what have you been trying lately in your classrooms? Have you tried things? Have you taken risks, done something innovative in the last couple of years that has worked really well for you?
Yeah, the thing what I really like to do is to, and this is part of my philosophy in teaching, I guess, is that to allow the students to have exposure to the theory or content that we do go over in class. So one big one that I did probably about 4 or 5 years ago that we still end up doing now is the students have to do a YouTube commercial. So when I started doing this, it happened by chance because I had a group that was doing a marketing plan, but they said, Mr. Madore, we're also going to do a short clip, a video as well too, a commercial for it. And I went, okay, that sounds good. So they did it and it was fantastic.
Yeah.
So light bulb goes on saying, well, why don't all the students have to do this? So I mulled it over for a year or so because I wasn't sure how I was going to develop it, and if I wanted to do it, if I wanted to take the risk, maybe it would fail and it wouldn't do very well. So the year I was going up for actual review for my permanent position was the year I decided to do it.
Brave timing.
Yeah, I said roll the dice and see what happens. So anyway, and we did, and what we ended up doing, Linda Van Esch was here at the time, and she was Associate Dean for faculty and management, and I approached her with the idea and I said, why don't we do this where, well, the theme will be that students will go out and toot the horn of faculty and management. We're going to create exposure and explain to students why they want to come to the University of Lethbridge, why they want to be in faculty and management. So that was the theme of the commercial. So we did it just like you would a normal commercial. We had it set time. For that one, I think we had them at 30 seconds was the limit to time. They had to decide how they were going to record it, so they could use iPhones, they could use cameras, they could go get equipment from the library.
Yeah.
They had to write their own scripts as well too, so we gave them sort of an ins and outs for script writing and storyboards and stuff like that, and they had to submit all that stuff. So we had, I think, 3 different classes at that time do it. So we had approximately about 100 students total involved. So we had probably about 15 to 22 groups at the time too. So we also had the marketing department involved, and we came in and we ended up creating a competition with it. We had prizes, we had a pizza day wrap up at the end. Like, it was awesome. Like, it went really, really well.
Yeah.
And that was the start of that, and we've been doing it since. So that's just one example. I'll have students go out and do market research. They have to go out and do observational research and then report on it, bring it back into the class in a written format, submit it to me for marks. So that's another example too.
Yeah.
They also go into the community. We'll go out and approach small businesses and see if we can write marketing plans for them as well. So those those are some of the ways that we try to engage with the community. And I think that's really important. Being here, I think this gives the students an opportunity, like I said, to take that content that we provide in class and put it to work.
But it's important to be able to think through all that stuff pedagogically too, right? You know, you say that as if these things are very straightforward, but of course for the teacher behind the scenes, those are not straightforward processes or assessments.
I agree. It's almost like an evolution though
Yeah.
in teaching. I mean, if you look at my course outline now compared to 6 years ago, it has evolved, and I think teaching is an evolution too. We try things, and not everything I touch turns to gold.
Really, Mike?
Really, honestly, yeah. But on the other hand, too, I think we have to be willing to take those risks to expose things that will work and that we can apply to our teaching going forward, right? That's I think where some people perhaps are they're hesitant to, because they're not sure if they're going to be successful with those. And that's unfortunate. I think we have to take those risks.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So what have you tried that didn't work as well, but then maybe you learned something from the failure?
It's more modification is what I find of things, and not scrapping necessarily per se, like the marketing research paper that we would do. Modified, give you a simple example, I guess. One that we did, students would have to go into the university here and collect data. They had to write their own questionnaires. So I would ask for too many questions at the first couple of times. Like I was asking for 15 or 20 questions where we only should have been doing 5 or 10. Like small modifications like that, because there's just too much of a burden for the students, or it was overbearing, or just too much work. Like, don't get me wrong, students should work, but you have to keep in mind the other classes that they're taking too, and their life outside here as well, right?
Yeah.
So I don't think I've ever had something. I normally am. It goes through here first, like I start thinking about, and then it's either in or out. Like I'll say like 95% of the ideas, maybe no. But then the 5 or 10 that I think will run, I actually will take a chance on those. So at one time, one of the year-end projects that we did that we don't do anymore, and it was successful, but it didn't meet enough academic rigor, in my opinion, is that we would have students have to develop a package that would allow a light bulb to be put inside and not be broken. So, and they would have to do this from a marketing perspective though. So they'd have to package it, advertise it. So there was a whole thing happening there, which was fantastic. But for the intro marketing class, they really needed to do a marketing plan instead. So those are things that we modify and change over time as well too. So yeah, teaching's an evolution. It's just you see what works and then you tweak, change, throw out, or bring stuff in.
Yeah, and it's funny how often it is about paring back. Not in the sense of making something easier, but I think you go in sometimes with less experience, and as you say, it's 15 to 20 questions looks adequate, and you realize, no, 5 good questions actually does them more good. It gives them a better chance to do something interesting than just overwhelm them with content or requirements or whatever.
Yeah, and sometimes I think we do that by accident more so than because we're so excited to have the chance to teach too and provide knowledge, and then we go over the top maybe. I'm speaking for myself, right? I mean, I can't, but that's how sometimes I get pushed too much as well too. So I have to try to pull back the reins a little bit.
But like you say, take risks. You know, if you can look at a colleague's outline and it's exactly the same as 5 years ago, mine, I don't think I've ever had 2 in a row that look the same. You just think, what are you doing? You know, are you not trying something here? Yeah.
Students will say with me, like, my course outlines, like the evaluation schemes will stay the same in course to course to course, which students really like because they know they're going to get a certain Mike Madore in the classroom. Like they know that's going to happen. But within that, the assignments, the cases, all that stuff will change. Like I never try to leave, with the exception of this YouTube video, because it's always fresh. We have new students coming in, they have fresh ideas, and they want to try different things. So, and that actually evolves too. I mean, to the last couple of years, what we've done is I've tagged it to the marketing plan directly. So if they're marketing a product, then they have to do their YouTube commercial based on that product. So then they have to sit down as a group and say, well, what are we going to do? So this is where the storyboard comes in. So, and in that marketing class, Management 2000, there is no requirement for storyboards analysis, and we don't even have that as a in the textbook that we use. But I want them to have that exposure so they understand that's part of marketing too. Like that's part of the communication process, and if they take the communications course, they'll be exposed to it there. So I'm sort of leading ahead a little bit in some sense, but I
Right.
think that's okay
Right.
as well too, as long as it's not too much.
Yeah. It sounds like there are occasions for almost team teaching here, or keeping a really close eye on what your colleagues are doing across the faculty. Is that correct?
Yeah, Samir Despande and I have done that as well. Samir has come into my class, and actually Mike Basil as well has come into my sports marketing class. Samir has come into my intro to marketing class. Michael has come into the sports marketing class. I think it's important to have content expertise from different areas who maybe can add a little bit more than I can in certain areas and certain instances, to have them come in. So I'm all for that. I think that's fantastic. I actually sat in with Kenise as well too, and did a marketing presentation for them as well. A couple of times I've done that as well. So
Yeah. I think this is something that really interests me about sort of your career and your approach to teaching. Because speaking of your sports marketing class, I got to sit in on one
Oh, yeah, right.
this past spring
Yeah.
as part of the Doors Open series, where I invited selected faculty to have one class that was open, and I really enjoyed that. When you first got that email from me, what made you even agree to do it?
I'm open to having people come in and see how I teach, and I think it's important to do that, to be able to go into someone's classroom. I mean, I have had the chance to do that as well too, and everyone teaches a little bit differently, or they have different things that they do, and if I could take something from someone else maybe, or maybe modify or include that in my tool shed or in my toolbox, I would do that. I'm not perfect. There's always new ways or different ways of looking at things, and I think it's important as teachers that in order for us to grow, we need to be able to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And break down the stereotypes between faculties too, because I have found it so interesting to be able to sit in with disciplines with faculties that are physically far removed from mine, but also just, in terms of disciplinary content or whatever, so far removed from mine. And I really enjoyed the opportunity. I don't know if it was exactly this room, but to kind of sit in one of these rooms and, all right, I've never seen, a marketing class happen.
Mine are a little, well, I wouldn't say different as well too, but I really like to use short cuts of video to break
That was
it
something
up.
that really struck me from your lecture that day. Yeah.
And I do that in all my classes.
Yeah.
And my thought behind that is just because the way students are wired now coming out of their education, like their secondary education, with cell phones and data and YouTube and so many different things they have access to with the internet, they can move in a bunch of different directions really quickly. So I think to keep the class engaged so that they're not just having to listen to me talk, or I like to say babble, for for an hour and 15 minutes, it's important to break that up into small segments where we do different things in the classroom. And sometimes it's just a humorous YouTube video, that's a 15-30-second clip, and other times it is related directly to the content that we're covering in the class as well too, but in a fashion from a different speaker. And actually I've had some where I've had professors from other universities do a 5 or 10 minute intro to a content component of our course rather than me teach it. I just think it's neat to have someone else do it too.
Yeah.
And with YouTube and the internet, why not?
Yeah.
So.
Plus, you're in these great classrooms. It's one of the features of the rooms here in Markham is that you've got kind of multiple screens. You've got this fantastic physical setup.
Yeah.
How did you find when you guys got to move into this building with these classrooms? What do you think about teaching in these spaces?
Oh, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, to be able to use the technology now that we have, I remember using a Gestetner when I first started.
I don't even know what that is.
Instead of a photocopier for your exams, so that you would do a print on this one thing and just roll them out. Some people out there will know who this is, or what that is when they watch this. But yeah, I mean, the technology is just incredible. So we should be engaged in using it. I mean, it's there. Everybody uses it a little bit differently as well too, which I find. I mean, we have a lot of distance learning starting to take place in faculty and management, which I find fantastic. About 3 years ago, when I was doing the marketing intro class in the summer session, we actually had a student from Edmonton and a student from Calgary sit in on the class, the physical class, but through the monitors and everything that we had. They were there,
great.
like they turned on the computer. We had software that would allow them to sit in and they could ask questions. I had never done that before, but it was fantastic to give them the opportunity, and it allowed them to go at a quicker pace for their degree as well too. So they weren't slowed down because it's a required course. They needed the marketing class, the intro class. So it allowed them to take it in the summer, which then allowed them to take additional marketing classes in the fall.
I think even just having it sort of present in the room, I don't teach in rooms that have sort of all the tech there. And I think there's even something about the familiarity of, if it's there, well, of course you should use it. And then once you get accustomed to using it, you can keep developing it in other ways.
When we ran the faculty management had their own teaching days. We've done.
I was going to ask you about that next. Tell me about your teaching day, Mike.
Yeah, I had the opportunity to do two. Linda, Vinesh, and I worked together on. We were sort of like co-chairs that first one, and it went over really well. And they hadn't had one to probably about 6, 7, 8 years prior. Was the last one that they had. So I was on the Teaching Effectiveness Committee for Faculty Management at the time, so it was part of our duty and role and responsibility. And Linda was the initial push on this. So we ran it. It went very well. It was well received. We probably had 40-ish, mid-40s attend, and that includes Edmonton, Calgary, and campus down here. And then Linda retired, and I was the head for the next one that we held. And again, very well done. I was really pleased overall. Good turnout again, mid-40s again in terms of folks that attended. And the one comment that really tickled me was that it was just, I heard just as well done as any outside, conference the faculty would go to. And I was really pleased by that. A lot of people put in a lot of time and effort, and because of that, it was so well received. So I had a good team working with me that allowed us to do that. And if I hadn't had that team, it just wouldn't have taken off.
So how many years ago did you start that, or this incarnation of it?
Yeah, that was probably, with Linda here, it probably started about 6, 7 years ago, I'm guessing, was the first one. And then we had one, I ran the next one after that, and then we waited because with budgets and everything, we were holding off a little bit to see when we were going to do it. And then after we had done the last one, Dave Hinger had just talked with someone in the undergrad office saying that, just to put a buzz in my ear, that he would like to maybe see if there's something that we could do together. So then it took a while for everyone to get together, but David approached me and said he was interested in doing something campus-wide, and I took it back to the teaching effectiveness group at the time and said David was looking at doing this. What do you think? So we held off. We were going to run one 2 years ago, but we held off because of this opportunity.
Okay.
Yeah, and so then David came into the picture, and then, this is where we are now with this.
Yeah.
And where Spark, I guess, is sort of grown or come out of, is that initial discussion.
So contrast that for me. Tell me about what was it like having the kind of in-house faculty management teaching day. What sort of sessions, what sort of activities would that day encompass? And then what did you gain? What changed when it became the Campuswide Spark this year, first time ever, 2015?
Having been in both now and been exposed to 3 of these sort of in a sort of a organizing role, I guess, very similar actually. The stuff that we were doing in the 2 for FOM were honestly very similar to what we were doing this year. And so that was neat to see. I guess for me, and with David coming and approaching, I just thought economies of scale. It just made sense. Why are we doubling our work? Why are we, with the budgets and the cuts, we have less money. Well, why not pool that money to a larger group of people? It just made sense. So when David approached me originally, I just said, I think this is a good idea. Now we just need to get buy-in from the community here, right? To get all the different faculties on board and wanting to do this. I think the big thing is because it's just a large event, there's so many players involved, there's so many different faculties. The timing is what was critical to get that. And with us starting early enough last fall in organizing and getting times and commitments, we gave all the faculties enough heads up that, hey, this is what we want to do. We're trying to improve economies of scale here. We're trying to get more people involved. It just, doubling the workloads of everyone, it just doesn't make sense to me. So that was a big thing for me. And I was really happy. I mean, it went just as well as the other 2 did, if not better. And I'm looking forward to working with him together on doing these in the future.
Yeah, because we got representatives from all the faculties were involved. Health Sciences had also been running, I think, their own separate teaching day the last couple of years. The Teaching Center's been doing hours, but it tended to be dominated by Arts and Sciences because we're the biggest faculty. And it was so much fun this year to get to clearly have representation from all the different faculties and have people talking to each other. So tell me about one of those days again. What do you think the value is of a day like that, a single dedicated day or day and a half, an on-campus, campus-wide teaching conference?
Yeah, the fellowship, to have the opportunity to get together with different people from different faculties and talk about their research, but also about how they teach.
Yeah.
So, and then they see what's going on. But you know, what I found interesting too in sitting in the seminars is getting to see how some of these folks actually present to us as well too, and their styles as well too. So I found that interesting as well.
Can you give me an example?
The one gal from Arts and Science, I can't remember her name, but dealing with us, having to deal with us, I guess, as students. Yeah, and we were a little, not rowdy per se, but just how to deal with us in terms of what I found, and I was very nervous about the first time that I ever did this, because I presented as well too. I did a YouTube presentation as to, you know, why you should use YouTube in the classroom and how it can help. And the first one that I did, and explaining just the bare essentials, it's sort of intimidating. Because, you know, these folks, some of them have 20, 25, 30, 40 years maybe even teaching experience. And I'm going in there and trying to... So I guess being a little bit nervous and just how to adjust my flow to make it work with my peers. And I guess that was a big thing for me. So
Yeah. And it's part of the fun of the experience. It's learning from each other across disciplines, learning from these different generations of teachers. But then I was something that really, you know, you and I were both on that organizing committee, the number of very new instructors, even grad students, who put in a proposal and showed up and had something to say that the rest of us could learn from was really exciting.
Yeah.
So it's not just, I can only learn from something from somebody in my own department. It's no, I do have things to learn from people in other faculties, from people who have more and less teaching experience than I do. And it was a chance for us to all kind of be together and have that shared moment.
We have so much expertise in-house here at this university that I think it's a shame not to have exposure to it. And this day gave us that opportunity to do that. And I'm hoping going forward we can continue it just because of that. It is great to have people come from outside the community too to share expertise or lend their experience. But we have a ton here as well. So especially the Distinguished Teaching Award recipients, it would be really neat to have some of them come into the classroom and share, you know, some of their experiences and why, you know, you received this award. Well, why did you receive it? I mean, there's a reason why. You're fantastic in the classroom. So can you share some of those nuggets with the rest of us? So that would be really neat. Hopefully maybe down the road that's something that we can do is have maybe 3 or 4 set in, you know, and then we just have a Q&A or just a chat like we're having here right now. Right?
Yeah. We'll put that on the list for Spark 2016.
Okay,
we'll have to have
David,
distinguished.
if you're watching, you're in
a
charge
panel
of
with
now.
just like the last 3 or 4 Distinguished Teaching Award winners, because again, they cover such a wide range of disciplines and generations and faculties. I think the cross-faculty thing is really challenging because we haven't always been as successful as getting, say, management integrated with the rest of campus. What do you think the value is there?
Oh, I think it's really important. Again, and it all goes back to just we have so many different ways that we teach. So many different expertise, so many different stories that we can share. I mean, to be able to, it's a shame not to, because we want to be able to expand our knowledge and our craft, I guess, because we do have a craft, right? And we're trying to improve that craft and make that better. And what better way to do it but to have dialogue with folks here and have fellowship on campus. I mean, that's the best way to do it, I think, anyway. I mean, if you counted up all the years of teaching experience that we have here, like we'd have thousands of teaching years of experience. Like, why not tap into that a little bit, right?
Yeah, and the individual context as well. I mean, that for me was part of the fun of Doors Open. I got to sit in on about half of them, 21 of them that ran, and just absolutely blown away by, of course, you know in theory that, of course, what a university does is teach a wide range of subjects to a wide range of students. You know that in theory.
Yep.
But getting to sit in 1 week in a sports marketing class and another grad level stats class and undergrad organic chem class, and just kind of be exposed to how many great teachers we have on campus and all those different ways of engaging with students in all those different disciplines was so much fun.
Yeah. We all teach a little bit differently, but having said that, those differences make us who we are too, and I think some of those differences we could capture and take and maybe bring into our own, and it doesn't necessarily have to be big changes, but just small subtle things that you see as well too, right?
Yeah, yeah. I want to go back to your own teaching experience.
Sure.
For people who come into academia, you know, in the more traditional way, the PhD,
Yeah.
with zero teaching experience, then into the classroom, what value do you think we can learn from our colleagues? But I'm thinking specifically here, you've got that actual ed training. What advantages do you think that gave you when you got here?
The one challenge I always, and I feel bad for PhD folks who come in and they haven't had that exposure, because it's almost saying, okay, you have all this content now. You worked
And we
your
have no
hiney
clue how to
off.
teach.
Yeah, well, that's not necessarily true. But you've worked so hard for so long to obtain your content expertise, but then no one's really told you how to get that out, or how to express that, or explain it, or I'm looking for a word and the word's not popping in my head right now that I want to use, but that's okay. That we want to express to our students. So how do we go about doing that? So I don't, almost it's like, it's bizarre in a sense where we work, or they work, or you work so hard to acquire all that knowledge, and then you're saying, okay, now go tell everybody all this stuff that you've learned over the last 12 years or so. Yeah, but no one's telling me how I should do that.
Yeah.
So I find that a little bizarre or frustrating. For if I was in that boat, I was fortunate enough that my undergrad was education, so I did get frontline or trench experience, I like to call it, right from the get-go, prior to going into post-secondary. So I had some theories, philosophies that I wanted to use, and plus having the chance to teach at Aurora College as a sessional allowed me, my teaching style is so much different now than it was when I first started even there.
In what way?
A lot more lecture content based there.
Yeah.
And I was using the book as almost a protector against the students, because I didn't know how else to do it. But as I evolved and I had exposure to different institutions and more teaching time, my teaching style is totally different now. It's like a 180 almost compared to what it was back then. So that's, I guess, from my perspective for the PhD folks, is that they're trained. They almost should be something in education, in my opinion anyway, that folks who have not had educational training in their undergrad, grad, or their PhD work, where they should have to take a couple of education courses just to help get them ready. And it's not to say that they can't teach, but just to give them more tools to put into their toolbox too, I think.
So we've talked about a range of things we could do for less experienced faculty with less teaching experience. So, maybe more formalized something. Some universities are going to put in certificate courses for grad students or faculty. Things like the teaching day, where you can meet and talk to other faculty, doors open, go and watch other more experienced faculty. I was very clear that, everyone who was on the roster in the spring was an experienced, highly respected teacher across campus. What else can we do to help support our younger faculty in their teaching careers?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think you should almost have like a Navy SEALs Hell Week or something. Okay, it doesn't have to be a Hell Week.
That might make recruiting
a little difficult. Right? Yeah, for sure. But to have a week when they come in, when they're first hired by the University of Lethbridge, and they sit down and say, okay, this is, and give them some areas or strategies or tools that they can then start to sharpen themselves over a time period. But we need to do that in that first week or two, is to give them exposure as to 101 how to teach. I mean, they have experience from their undergrad, their graduate work as well too, from their professors that they had exposure to. But who's to say that those professors were necessarily doing it? They have their own styles or what have you, right? But I mean, it's important. there's so many variables that go into running an efficient classroom, I think, and if we can help set the standard for that in that first week or week and a half or whatever with the newbies that are coming in, I think that's really important because it gives them a better chance to be successful from the beginning, rather than coming in on the back end, struggling, getting poor evaluations from students, and now their arms like, what do we do? How do we make this better? I would prefer to have something up front where front load it, where they have exposure as to this is what you need to do to have an opportunity to have a successful teaching experience here at the University of Lethbridge.
Yeah, without maybe a Navy SEAL Hell Week.
Without the Navy SEAL, yeah. No push-ups on the beach.
No. Beach. Riverbed?
Or riverbed, maybe, yeah.
I've been doing a lot of research about peer mentoring, right? How do we support and encourage faculty members at all different stages of their career? And a lot of the scholarship comes out of the business world, the management world, because mentoring is seen, it seems to me, as an entrenched part of a recognized, welcomed, encouraged part of that world. I think what I'd like to ask is, why is that so? Why does there seem to be so much really high quality attention paid to developing good mentoring relationships in the business world? And then what of that model could universities borrow to help mentor faculty?
From my perspective, I like to see other people have the chance, and I've done this a little bit as well too myself. So I'd like to see those folks have an opportunity to be successful. One may look at it from a perspective saying, well, you're creating a competitor now, so why would you want to do that? From a different perspective, you see mentors more so at the end of their careers where they're getting out of those industries anyway, and what they would like to do is pass that torch along to the new people coming into those industries, and to help them go through less of what we call in business school of hard knocks, where you end up failure in a failed enterprise perhaps, or not as successful as you'd like to be in your business career. Really, what I always say to students too in my small business class is that you probably have anywhere from 2 to 3 kicks at the can, and that's it in respect to running a successful business, because you need funding. If you fund your first business and it's a failure, who's going to fund you the second time, right? The banks aren't going to, so then you have to go to friends and family, and you may have had to do that the first time as well too. So that's why I'm saying kicks at the can. If you have limited access to funds, you're not going to be able to run that business. So that's why you have only 1, 2, or 3 at the very most opportunities to run a successful business. So I think the folks leaving or retiring or going on to that next path want to try to give the new people coming in an opportunity to be successful as possible. And from a teaching perspective, if I had someone come in or sit into one of my classes, that would be my mindset, is I'm just trying to help this person do the best job that they can do in the classroom. When I look at teaching, and not everyone agrees with this, and that's okay, because we all have our own opinions, I almost treat this as a service-based enterprise or business where I do have customers, the students, and I'm trying to provide a good service to my students. And that's just my opinion. And not everyone here agrees. And we all have our own philosophies and different ways of teaching, and that's fantastic. But from my perspective, I feel that when I step through those doors and I'm actually here in front of this group, they've paid to listen to me speak. So I have to provide a level of service and expertise that will give them those skill sets that they need when they go out into the real world.
So I am going to follow up on that, because that is a fairly controversial statement, right?
Yes, it is,
the student as customer model of post-secondary education, not necessarily a widely accepted view. So defend it for me. Why do you like that view of seeing our students as our customers?
I see this no different as me going into a restaurant or going to grab coffee or wherever it is where I'm paying money. I've worked very hard to earn the money that I have acquired over my lifetime, and when I'm going out to purchase something, I have a certain level of expectations of what I should be receiving back from that money. I've gone out to a restaurant and I've had people with me at the table, I'm not going to say who because I'll get in trouble for this, where they've complained about their meal and the waitress will come over and say, "How did you like the meal? How did you like your meal?" And they say, "Oh, it's great, it was good." And I'm looking at them and I'm looking at her and I'll say, "No, it wasn't good. And this is what was wrong with it." Because I have that level of expectation, right? So I bring that, and that's a personal philosophy, right? And I bring that back into the classroom. It's no different than, did you like the dish that I provided you today in here?
Right.
And I'm hoping you did. And if you didn't, what can I do differently to maybe make that dish a bit more appealing? Right. And again, and this goes back to teaching philosophy, that we need to continue to evolve and sharpen our tools and bring in additional tools into that tool chest as well too, or toolbox.
One line of criticism of that view is that if students have all paid the same tuition, does the student as customer model create this context where they think, well, why didn't I just buy myself my A? Right? How do you justify giving some the A and some the D in the student as consumer model? They all paid you the same money.
So, and this goes back to 101 teaching too. Day one course outline. I take about 45 minutes, 50 minutes to go through my course outline. And in there, one area I talk about is you have to live and die by the sword. So...
Back to the Navy, so you had a very violent confrontational start to your pedagogy, Mike.
I'm an ex-hockey player, so...
no pain, no gain.
Hockey's violent. Let me go back to that, because that's... So when we get in there and we talk, and we speak to the course outline, we go through that course outline, one thing I say to them, I say, you're young adults. I'm not here to micromanage your time schedule. Those doors are open. You have paid for the course. You come in and you go as you wish. If you feel that you only need to be here several times through the semester, that is your choice. You paid for the course.
Right.
Having said that, though, my expectation is that you're not coming to me in the 11th hour needing this, this, and this because you haven't been attending, haven't been going to do your group work. I said I will not support you. And unfortunately, I have been tested on that several times through my teaching career while I've been here, and I've had to say to those students, I'm sorry, there's nothing I can do for you at this point. So part of that is hard love parenting as well too, I think, and having 3 kids at home now, one 16, one 14, and one going to be 12 in a couple months. I've been exposed to that as well. But that's so I'm bringing some family skills and philosophy, I guess, into my classroom as well too. So I do have a hard love sort of aspect to my classroom, which is unfortunate. But I think it's important that students have to realize, I paid for it, but I have to step up and do what's expected of me as well too. And occasionally that doesn't happen. And I have another thing while we're on this, where students actually have the opportunity in their case groups to fire case group members if they're not pulling their weight.
Oh, so there's one approach to the classic, what do you do with group work if it's not going well? You give the students the power to fire each other.
You can thank
Donald
Trump actually for that. I was watching it one night, and this is back in the day when it was really popular, and it just came to me. It said, epiphany, like, why don't you do that in the classroom? Why don't you do that in your case groups? Because you're putting the onus, I think if we can put the onus back on the students in a controlled manner where, we're still here to help. And when that has occurred in the past, sometimes actually all the students have come to my room and we have worked this out. So sometimes they actually have fired, and other times it's a lack of communication. It's more of a communication issue where the students have come in and we've been able to clear it up, and then the students are all happy and they go back. Well, maybe they're not happy, but they'll go back and they'll do the work that's assigned, or and then come back and get the job done. So
So it's interesting to me because, again, some of the criticisms of the student as consumer model is that does it create too much space for the students to be a passive consumer? And for you, that's not the model at all. I mean, they may be your customer in that they have paid to be here and they have paid for your expertise, but you don't see that as a passive, sit back and impress me kind of space for the student.
No, they still have to eat the food, right? They have to eat the meal, consume it. So then at the end of the day, once the consumption is completed, it's up to them to decide, was it what I was looking for when I was in here? Yeah, they have to still, they're young adults. They still need to be able to make their part or do their part in terms for this to be successful. I can't do it all on my own. I can't run a successful class without having students commit and do their part as well too. So they have to be willing to do that. And if they're not, then they're not going to be successful in here. I have people who fail. I have D's, I have D pluses, and it's unfortunate, but that's because those students have not committed to the course, or they don't necessarily maybe like my style of how I run my class. One thing I've said to students too is that some of you in here probably won't like me by the end of the semester because my style is different, and that's okay though too, and I'm okay with that because I may not just accommodate necessarily everyone's way of how they think a university classroom should be operating as well too.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm really clear on day one. This is how I teach, and some of you are going to like it, and some of you are not, and that's fine.
Yeah, and that's okay.
Yeah.
This is where then you look for maybe someone else instead, and you have occasionally I have students who do drop. I'll have a few, but if I'm not their best fit, then they shouldn't be taking a class with me either.
Do you think that confidence comes with experience? Because I know I have found in conversations recently with less experienced instructors that they're sort of quite worried about how the students perceive them, or how do they make the students do the work, do the reading, show up and participate. And I find when I talk to more experienced instructors, we've let go of some of that need to make them do X or Y, right? You keep speaking about these are young adults. They choose to walk through your door. They choose to show up and do the work or not, and that you can't control all of that. You can't. You use the word micromanage. You can't micromanage a bunch of young adults.
Yeah, and stuff like and everyone's strategy is different. Some teachers like to take attendance. They like to allocate part of the marks towards that. I think, man, you've already paid for it. Why are you doing that? I mean, if they want to come, they're going to come. It's creating an atmosphere of engagement that will have the students want to come into the classroom.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And if we're doing that, then we don't need to do the micromanaging stuff, right?
Yeah.
So for the newer teachers, and I think probably at the beginning, because it was sort of school of hard knocks in the sense of me acquiring knowledge and expertise and sharpening tools in a sense that would allow me to get to where I am now, I guess, in terms of having, when I'm done a lecture, I've never had this before. Samir Despende had me cover a lecture this past month because he was out of town. He said, would you mind covering it? I said, yeah, for sure, I'll cover it for you. I'd love to. So I went in, did the lecture. When I was done, the students actually applauded. I've never had actually applause. I'm going around looking. I didn't know if I should bow or tip a hat or what have you. So it was sort of funny to see that. But I took that back, saying that they appreciated me being there in my time there. Yeah. But when I had first started teaching, they probably would have been throwing things at me. They whipping chalk. No, I'm just kidding. We would have done that. But it would have been different, right? Like the atmosphere, the way the classroom ran, what we did in the class, it would have been different. So so I think it's partially from experience and exposure. Over time. But if we as instructors who have or can be mentors, maybe we can help speed up that process a little bit so it doesn't take 15, 20 years to get these tools sharp, right?
Yeah. Even if you can say to somebody new, you need to worry about this a whole lot less, or try not worrying about this piece or that piece, because in the bigger picture, trust me, 10 years from now, you're not still going to be worrying about this piece or that piece, of what's going on in your classroom.
They're going to say, why was I worried about that to begin with, right?
I remember looking back and thinking that I too used to care deeply about, this aspect of whatever was going on in my classroom, and I just don't anymore. I think, and I think I'm a better teacher because I've let go of a lot of that micromanaging tendency.
When I first started, and I did at the college, because I was exposed to quite a few classes and different courses over there, I did a lot more micromanaging, but even at the end of my time there, I started to let some of that go, just because of experience and understanding the process of how young adults, post-secondary students sort of think and work compared to even high school students. I found I probably micromanaged more at that level than I did, or I know for sure, than I am at this level right now, right? And probably if I did go back, based on what skill sets I've acquired, probably I would have a different mindset into those classrooms now as well too. I would think, at least. Like, it'd be interesting to go.
You sort of want to go back and apologize to those first few classes of students that you taught. I am so sorry. You did not get your money's worth out of me those first few years. But thank you. All those mistakes helped me. I'm much better now. You, not so much.
But I think as we go through all our careers, I think we would say that as well too, right? No matter what we do, right, or where we've been and what roads we've traveled, I think we would say the skill sets that we have acquired in whatever, a hairdresser, a beauty, someone who does nail, whatever it is they do, right? I mean, you acquire skill sets that you then apply and change and craft over your evolution as an individual.
So where is your teaching, how is your teaching continuing to evolve? What do you want to work on in the next few years? Where do you hope you are as a teacher as your teaching career goes forward?
There's different routes that I'm looking at and thinking about. PhD is one route as well too, to get more research based. I've been studying for my GMAT exam actually, so it's been interesting over the last year. What I'm finding interesting with it though is there's so many different dynamics that now come into play with family, work, and trying to find time to do that. I'm thinking, and what I'm being told by peers is that part of the prep for the GMAT is to give you a realization of getting into this PhD, is to give you a small taste of what's involved with going into a PhD program as well too. So it's interesting to get the exposure. So I'm still hoping to go down that route. I was hoping actually to have this GMAT taken care of by now. But of course personal life comes into play too, and there's so many different things and variables happening. So yeah, it's still a work in progress, and we'll see how that plays out. Administration is an area too that I'd like to get into maybe eventually, but we'll see what happens there. But as far as teaching right now, teaching is like putting a comfortable pair of shoes on right now for me. I know where I'm going with this, and I know how to make subtle changes and movements, but I'm not having said that I still won't look at making changes in my programs. But to make sure that they work for the students and for me as well too. So teaching is good right now. Like I would be happy to help. If someone came to me and said, I need some help, what can I do here? I think I could have that dialogue and conversation with them to help based on my experience anyway. Would they want to take it or use it? It's up to them. But I definitely have some stuff that I would be happy to share or help with for sure.
Working with colleagues, I mean, it's like young adults, right? They don't have to take my advice. This is just my advice. This is what's worked in my classrooms and might not be the same as yours.
Absolutely.
You mentioned administration, so I had the chance recently to speak with our Vice President, Andy Haken, who's obviously senior administration, but also still thought of as a passionate teacher. And I had a chance to ask him, why do we need more of the really great teachers on campus to go into administration? Because too often, those great teachers have a hard time, tend to not want to move into admin because you've got to leave the classroom behind. So this is a step that you're starting to think about. What do you think, being one of those great teachers, those passionate, caring teachers, what strengths do you think that would let you bring forward into admin?
And that's the one thing that's holding me back too, is that struggle saying, man, you're going to leave the classroom to go into administration, like what you love to do. I've been doing this for 25. My first exposure to teaching was coaching baseball, hockey, and that's when I was 13, 14 years old. Like I was doing that already. So I mean, to leave that, but I think in the bigger picture, I could use those skills to help from an administrative perspective as well too. I would miss the classroom, but I think the skill sets that I've acquired to this point would help me in my administrative role as well too, as a, whatever that would be, different jobs that I would apply on. And this is a road that I've just started to walk down right now. So I'm new here and trying to think about, for sure, is this something that you do want to do? Initially, I would say yes right now. I still want to. I want to have that. I like challenging myself. I like going into different areas and seeing what I can do. One thing I've always said to my students is, or people I've chatted with, is that make sure you get into a career at some point of your life that you love to wake up to in the morning, that you want to go to. You have to do that at least once in your life. I've been blessed that I've done this for 20 some years now, and I want to see if this is another area that I would be interested in pursuit or going into. And you know what, if I was into it and it wasn't working out, I would gladly go back into the classroom. But I like to challenge myself. I like to go into different areas and try different things. So I just think this would be an area. With those years of experience, I'm hoping I could impart that on a larger group. That I would have that chance to, as I see Andy doing, you know, here in campus as well too. And you can tell he loved teaching. I mean, just listening to him during the Spark presentation, having that opportunity to sit up again and chat with others about teaching, he really enjoyed that. So.
Yeah, it makes a difference. I mean, you know, I think we're very lucky here. We have a senior admin who does care deeply about teaching, but when you've got someone who has a particular piece of their heart in that area, I think it does continue to have an effect, whether it's, you know, that great opening talk at the Spark conference, continuing to support the activities of the teaching center. You know, it makes a difference, but it's hard when you don't want to leave the classroom.
Yeah, it was funny with that class I covered for Samir a few weeks ago. I did my course load through my fall and spring semester, so I wasn't teaching in May, June. So I'd had a few weeks off, time to get back grounded.
And just breathe again when the term was done, right?
Exactly, yeah. So, but after the lecture was done, I was pumped. I was so happy to have had the chance to be in there and to share some content with some folks in a fashion and manner that they seemed to really like. I felt great when I left here that day. There's
an energy in a classroom that you don't get anywhere else.
There is.
You know, and that's what you miss when it's not there.
So that would be the one thing that I would, and I'm not going to lie, I would miss that. But I would like to challenge myself too, and that's I think. Mike Babcock had said that too, and he was a coach here. He coached the senior men's hockey team, and listening to him, and he was saying, you know, he didn't want to, and I'm paraphrasing now, but basically he was saying, you know, you want to be challenging yourself throughout your life. Going to coach the Toronto Maple Leafs is going to be quite a challenge. I think he's up for it. But I mean, I looked at that and I was thinking, during the news conference that he had that day announcing that he was going to Toronto to coach for the upcoming 5-10 years, whatever it is. And I was thinking, but he's got it right. You know, you want to continuously challenge yourself and try to do new things and open up new avenues. I don't want to look back when I'm 70 and 80 and say, I didn't push myself and get the most I could out of myself. And I have to at least see what that road would be like. And it may be one that I would want to end my teaching career with, and maybe not, I don't know. Yeah,
and you can still obviously be doing good for students just at a higher level, right? You're not kind of face-to-face in the classroom anymore. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming and talking to me today.
Welcome.
This was a lot of fun, Mike.
It's fantastic.
Great.
I really enjoyed it too. Thank you.